So the excitement of starting the journey of planting a church can be quickly combated with this idea of fear and insecurity. Who is actually going to join your launch team to even make this dream possible? And so today on Practical Church Planting, our hope is to encourage you and tell you 7 reasons why people join launch teams.
Welcome back to Practical Church Planting, where in 15 minutes or less, we'll give you practical tips, advice, and encouragement to help you plant and grow healthy churches. My name is Brian Adrosian. Joining me is Dylan Dodson. Right. And today we are talking about 7 reasons why people join your launch team.
Now, I want to point out really quick that if you have been following Practical Church Planting for a while and you watch the video version, this is now the 4th different setup that we have had.
That's right.
The reason is because when you're at a newer, smaller building like ours, you got to move things around.
It probably won't be the last setup, too.
And so when things get moved around, we get moved around.
Yep.
But that being said, I was actually texting with somebody this morning and last night about church planting and different things. And so we thought, why not make an episode about why people actually join a launch team? Because he was nervous about a few things. And so here we go. Here are 7 reasons why. Number 1, people want to be a part of community.
Yep.
And so being a part of a launch team, especially from the beginning, allows people to begin to build relationships. And so I say this because it may seem obvious, maybe not. I don't know to your experience, but you should actually play into that. This is one of the things that we played into a lot when we were just starting, because it's true that there's something special about community, about something being smaller, about something being more intimate in the beginning. And so people want to be drawn to community. And so you should actually make that a pitch as you try to encourage people to join your launch team.
Yeah, I think we can think that it should only be about the church and people want to join because they want to plant a church and all about the church and the gospel and things like that. But we forget that people are going to be spending a lot of time together and getting very close to one another. So why not press into that? Why not play into it?
And the reality is all human beings operate this way. We all think, what is in it for me? Yep. And community is a big thing. And so that's a big reason why people join. And so trying to make a community a priority of your church, especially in the beginning, is easy to do when you're smaller, when you're newer.
Yep.
So use that as a reason as you encourage people to join on your team, because they'll actually be able to make some new community.
Yeah, and it's a good thing too. I mean, you want a church plant or a launch group that has community, that has relationships with each other, so it's not like it's a bad thing.
Right. And so again, that's one real good strength of church plants, and so that's one reason people join.
Yep.
Here's another reason, number 2, is because people want to make a difference. And so they join a church plant because they see it that there's a difference that can be made. Now, I would say this: when we launched New City Church, most of our launch team were comprised of people who were followers of Jesus, but had never taken ownership in their local church.
Sure.
Which is, what we don't want to have happen is like trying to pull people from churches just to join our team. And so here at New City, I am 100% fine with people that aren't that connected leaving New City to go connect somewhere else. At the same token, I'm 100% fine with people that are at other churches that aren't connected coming to New City and actually getting connected. I'm not trying to steal people or have people leave, but it's about actually getting connected that makes a difference. And people want to make a difference. And in the beginning stages, when you're actually talking about what you're going to do, know that, and know that is a big, strong selling point when you talk to people about joining the launch team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I think a lot of people, especially if they've been in church for a long time, probably don't feel like they've made a difference unless they're in some higher capacity role.
Right.
So to give someone who maybe doesn't feel like they have the ability to be in ministry or even the desire really to be in ministry, but give them maybe leadership opportunities that they wouldn't have gotten at a big church or wouldn't have gotten at wherever they came from, I think will not just draw them in, but maybe it might reveal something in them that, hey, this is something I actually want to put more time into and I didn't realize it before.
Exactly. So they want to make a difference. This is why people join launch teams, because there's a very obvious need. Number 3 is the relationship with the church planter. So again, I think a lot of times when we go out to plant a church, you're thinking about planting a church, we think of all the reasons why people won't join. That's because this is not going to be good enough, or I'm not going to be good enough, or we don't have a building, we don't have all these things. Instead of thinking about what are the strengths of joining a church plant. And so don't be afraid to lean into the relationships that you have. It's not that you're like this awesome person that everybody wants to be with and hang out with you, but just knowing that if you have somebody who's not a follower of Jesus or is a follower of Jesus but is not really connected anywhere, the fact that they have a relationship with you is a really big deal. So again, it's not like a manipulative thing of come join the church plant because of me, but just know that your relationship probably carries more weight than you think that it does.
Yeah, totally. I mean, they have to be behind somebody, and obviously it's not about the pastor, but people need to be led, and they need to be led by a person.
Right.
And so there's nothing wrong. I don't think that you're running into any sort of magnifying yourself to say, hey, I have relationships with people, and people obviously in a relationship with me because they like me or find something attractive about me. Why not? I mean, maybe this sounds bad. I don't want to say like, why not use that to your advantage, obviously, but why not use those relationships and do something that helps the church, but also helps the person.
Right, exactly. And again, some of these points may seem obvious, but I think they need to be, again, we need to be reminded because we think of all the reasons why something's not going to work.
Yeah.
And again, the relationship with you matters and they want to make a difference. Who doesn't want to make a difference with their friends?
Yeah.
And that's the strong strength of a church plant is that people know each other or they get to know each other and they get to make a difference.
Yeah, and especially talking about the relationship with the planter, I think you hear a lot of, if you're a church that's planting another church, of people asking things like, are you going to send people with them, or are you going to send a team with them? And obviously everybody wants to, but really it comes down to, obviously as the pastor of the sending church, need to catch vision to your people and things like that. But also that person has to have relationships with people. Like you can't send people that don't have a relationship with them. They might go and help out for a time, but it's not actually going to be a lasting thing.
Yep, the relationship is really important.
Yeah.
And so that's a big reason why people join. Number 4, similar to number 2, we talked about they want to make a difference. But number 4 is feeling like they are actually making a difference because they are, is why people join a launch team.
Yeah.
So, it may seem like at the church that they're a part of, if they're even a part of one, that what they do doesn't really matter.
Yep.
But when they join a launch team, they realize, if I'm not here, then this thing might not happen. And then, listen, that's not a bad thing. Like people want to feel like make a difference because God has created us to actually play a part in making a difference. So what I would say is, again, this is not about taking people from churches just to join your team. You'll likely find that people that are committed and are serving and are giving or in a group at a church will not join your launch team, which is totally good because they are committed, they're on a team. You'll a lot of find Christians that maybe go somewhere but aren't very invested will join your team because they feel like I'm not really doing anything here anyway. People want to feel like they're making a difference. And again, when you're new, like you need everybody. And so it's important to not like weight people down with that or make them feel guilty if they don't come to something or don't do something, but just be like, hey, look, this won't happen if without people like you, and you'll see people step up because we're created to want to make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to kind of what I was saying before, but a lot of people probably don't feel like they've made a huge difference in the church if they're just someone who's gone, maybe served here and there, but a lot of positions, if they're not leadership, if you're in a more established church, if the person doesn't show up that week, most of the time there's someone to fill in, or they're serving once a month and they have a whole team of people that can do it as well. Run a church plant, like you said, you might be the only person that knows how to do this thing. And a lot of people have never experienced that before. So, yeah, giving people an opportunity to make a difference I think is a big deal. Because,
again, it gives people the opportunity to lead for maybe the first time, or just knowing, hey, like, what I'm doing here actually matters. And so that is a big reason why. It's because not only do they want to make a difference, but they actually feel like they are, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Number 5 is being a part of something from the beginning. And this is another thing at New City we talked about really until like the first year of after we launched was done. Then I kind of stopped saying it because it wasn't as true anymore.
Right.
But like you can be part of something from the beginning. Like we all like to look back, whether it's churches or businesses or things that like, were successful, or maybe the success doesn't matter, that have been around for a while, and look back at pictures or videos or how things were in the beginning and reminisce and be like, oh, isn't that cool, whatever. Like this is what you get to do. You get to be that person in 5 or 10 years, and after we see all these things that God does, like remember when this happened. And there is something unique and special about that. And so again, this is not you better do this or you're going to miss out, but just being honest, like, there's something special about being a part of something from the beginning, and that is a really big drawing point, a selling point. Again, we say sell as in trying to get them. Yeah. I think you know what we're saying, to get people to at least check out the launch team or possibly join.
Yeah, I think that this is a big thing in our culture now, and maybe this is just something with humans in general. I don't really know, but we live in this day and age where like startups are a huge thing. Where the show Shark Tank, people love it. People like it because they like seeing something that is starting. People don't necessarily care, especially the younger generation. Don't care about these huge corporations or huge churches, if you want to equate it that way, but they care about things that are just starting out that are small. But most people don't honestly get a chance to be a part of it. So to give them that kind of opportunity to be a part of, obviously this isn't the same thing as starting a business, but give them the opportunity to be a part of just something that's kind of starting from the ground up, that going back to the last one, they feel like they're making a difference in. I think it is we don't want to say a big selling point to them,
And so just remember that, again, not as when you're telling people about this, remember that people want to be part of something in the beginning. Because again, I think oftentimes we think of all the reasons why someone is going to say no, or why people wouldn't want to join our launch team. That's a big thing that you can only get in the very beginning.
Yeah.
So talk about it.
Yeah.
People want to be part of something from the beginning. Number 6, now not all of these are positive.
That's true.
So be thinking of this.
Yeah.
Is that they have their own agenda. So launch teams, new churches are great places for people that maybe have their mindset on starting a particular ministry or having a church run a certain way.
Yeah.
And so you have to be careful in the beginning. There's this hesitancy to be like, here's what we're doing, because you want everyone to come and feel like they have a part to play, which they do. Like, I think it can be hard to say no or to be clear on your vision and what you want to do, because you don't want to turn anyone away, because you're like, please, anybody possible, join our team, join our church plant. But it's important from the beginning to be very clear on what the church is going to look like and what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. Because if you don't do that, people will stick around, and maybe they say, okay, maybe they won't in the first 3 months, but then they'll keep asking, they'll keep pushing. So if you know somebody has an agenda or wants to do something that you're not going to want to do as a church, you just got to be honest with it up front. Because if something's new, there's nothing established, sometimes people can join with ulterior motives or bad motives, or maybe the motives just aren't bad, but it's just not the vision of your church.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. It doesn't always have to be like with bad motives, but you may have someone who's been kind of burned by a church before, not even burned by a church, but maybe a part of a church that they just didn't fit what they wanted, not for any kind of more, for lack of a better term, legit reasons, but that don't necessarily fit what makes them comfortable as a church. And so they may see, hey, this church is planning, I kind of have an opportunity to, maybe not even in a bad way, but influence the way that it's built, because I think that this is right, even if my intentions are pure. But those are kind of things that you have to watch out for, because you are more, I don't know what the word is, malleable, susceptible to change. As a new church, you are more susceptible to people coming in and changing things, whether for good or bad.
Right.
So just nothing to think about.
And again, maybe someone had a great experience 20 years ago at a church and they want to do that again.
Yeah.
The VBS was awesome, or the Sunday school program was awesome, or this thing was awesome that you have no intention or desire to do. You just have to be clear about that, because people can join because they want to do something, which is great. But if you're not clear on who you are and where you're going as a church, it could get you into trouble.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's number 6. People will join because they have their own agenda. Sometimes it's good, sometimes not so much.
Yeah.
And then number 7, this one may sound super obvious, but in my experience, it's important because we don't always do the obvious thing.
And I think this is the biggest reason why people join.
The number one biggest reason people join. This is why we saved it for last. I should have opened with this so people felt the tension.
Save best for last.
Number 7, the biggest reason why people join a launch team is because they were asked.
Oh, groundbreaking.
They were actually asked, and not asked in a text message, or not asked. Here's what I say all the time. Here, we're planting, come to the interest meeting, and they'll post it on Facebook or social media, or they'll send this mass email newsletter out, and then they wonder why hardly anyone shows up.
Right.
You have to actually ask people individually, not just like, some mass email, like actually face to face, get lunch with them, get coffee with them. No, they might say no, they might reject you. This is why in my experience and what I've seen, one of the big, and we've had a previous episode on this on why churches don't make it, some church plants don't make it, is because they don't take fundraising seriously enough. Yeah. Because they didn't have enough face-to-face interactions, because they were too scared for people to reject them, or for people to say no. If you want people to join your launch team, you have to actually ask them to do it. And I guarantee you, they won't all say yes, but you'll have a much higher percentage will at least come to something if they were individually asked.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, would you rather, if you're the person being asked, would it be more attractive to you or whatever to see something posted on Facebook and just say, oh, I'm interested in that, and maybe I'll show up to my friend's thing that I don't really know anything about, or them actually come to you and say, hey, for these reasons, because I have a good relationship with you, because you're great with people or great in this area, I think you'd be really valuable in joining here. That's a totally different thing than just, oh, they want anyone to show up, maybe I'll show up if I'm free.
And you're not asking them to make a commitment right there, or to sign up for anything. We just say, hey, would you come to this meeting? Would you come to this thing? Would you check this out? Again, my experience, people don't actually ask, and so people don't actually come. Because again, posting about it on social media, then getting mad people don't come, that is not on people not coming, that's on you as a leader.
Yes.
And so you have to actually ask them, have the courage to ask them, and let them know there's no pressure here. They can say no, it is totally fine. But if you don't ask them, they're not going to show up.
And you know what I think is interesting with all these that we listed, none of them are because, we didn't say any reason is because somebody wants to be a part of a church plant, because somebody thinks that more churches need to be planted, which sure, there are people out there, but in reality, these can be not as spiritual reasons.
Right.
And they're totally legit. I think totally all of us, even if someone came that was a complete non-believer who didn't care about church planting, but wanted to be a part of something new, or thought that they liked the vision of what you're saying, and they are super good at production, we would want them in a heartbeat, because hey, the more they're around it, maybe they'll be attracted to the gospel, and maybe the more they're around it, the more they'll get introduced to Christ.
That's a good point. I think oftentimes we think everyone's like a seminary student and they want a church plant. Like, You want to get them in the door so that they can grow closer to Jesus, but that might not be their number one reason for joining, and that's okay.
And that's fine. Yeah.
Totally okay. Now, I want to end real quick with this. One thing that I may have not mentioned, well, I haven't mentioned at all, Brian.
Okay.
Any guesses on what we've not talked about?
There's a lot of things we haven't talked about, but I can't wait to find out.
Well, one of the reasons we did this episode is I was talking to my friend this morning, and he talked about preaching.
Okay.
Everyone talks about preaching. Here's the deal. Nobody, and I mean nobody, joins a church plant for the preaching. Especially if you're younger, you likely haven't had a lot of experience preaching. You're not going to be as good as the guy down the street. That's not why people join. Yeah. None of these reasons we listed were because of preaching. It's community. It's making a difference. It's starting something from the beginning. It's feeling like you belong to something bigger than yourself. Nobody cares about preaching in the beginning.
Yeah.
The number one reason people listen to you, or the only reason people listen to you when you plant a church, is not because you're a great preacher. It's because they know you and they trust you. If they don't trust you, then they won't listen. It's about the relationship. That is why people listen to you. Tim Keller has a big thing on this too, how, when you're smaller, essentially that's the reason why. The bigger you get as a church, the more important it is to be gifted because less people know you relationally.
Right.
But in the beginning, we're so worried about preaching. I was so worried about preaching. Nobody cares that joins a church plant about preaching at all.
And I think the funny thing is if you've been a part of a church plant, and this isn't just about you, Dylan, because I didn't know you a whole lot before we planted the church, but even other church planters I've known in the past, from day one to day, 52, it's a enormous difference. And looking back, I would think
hopefully more than 50 days.
Well, I mean like 50 weeks, like year one. Okay. But I mean like looking back, it's like nobody was coming because you were a great communicator.
Nobody.
And that's not a negative thing. It's not like people were just humoring you. It's just there's so many other reasons, and it was not because they just were fired up at this launch team meeting because you're such a charismatic communicator. I mean, that can help in ways, but that's not the reason that people join.
And as we've grown and as we've been here longer, it matters more because now people are coming who have no relational connection to me at all.
For sure.
And so that matters more. But in the beginning, nobody's coming for that.
Yeah.
So just to encourage you with it. Nobody cares about your preaching.
Right.
So, hey, thanks for listening to us today. Again, those were 7 reasons why people join a launch team. Hopefully encouraged you. As always, you can go to practicalplanting.com/questions if you have a question you want us to do at a future episode. And until next time, we'll see you on Practical Church Planting. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Practical Church Planting. Whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or Practical Planting, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, make sure you like or subscribe or do whatever it's telling you to do or should do on that platform.
And hey, if you are so tired of looking at our ugly faces, but you're not tired of listening to our beautiful voices, then you can find our podcast if you just search Practical Church Planting on iTunes or Google Play. Make sure not to just find it, not just to listen, but to subscribe.
Make sure you subscribe. Brian, tell them to subscribe.
Subscribe.
See you next time.